more indirect manner laid-up treasure. Treasure was not to be, in any form whatever, of their dreams or of their waking sense, and the years that followed had limped under their weight, had now and then rather grievously stumbled, had even barely escaped laying them in the dust. The school had not prospered, had but dwindled to a close. Gedge's health had failed, and still more, every sign in him of a capacity to publish himself as practical. He had tried several things, he had tried many, but the final appearance was of their having tried him not less. They mostly, at the time I speak of, were trying his successors, while he found himself, with an effect of dull felicity that had come in this case from the mere postponement of change, in charge of the grey town library of Blackport-on-Dwindle, all granite, fog, and female fiction. This was a situation in which his general intelligence, acknowledged as his strong point, was doubtless conceived, around him, as feeling less of a strain than that mastery of particulars in which he was recognized as weak. It was at Blackport-on-Dwindle that the silver shaft reached and pierced him. It was as an alternative to dispensing dog's-eared volumes, the very titles of which, on the lips of innumerable glib girls, were a challenge to his temper, that the wardenship of so different a temple presented itself. The stipend name differed little from the slim wage at present paid him, but even had it been less, the interest and the honour would have struck him as determinant. The shrine at which he was to preside, though he had always lacked occasion to approach it, figured to him as the most sacred known to the steps of men, the early home of the supreme poet, the Mecca of the English-speaking race. The tears came into his eyes sooner still than into his wife's, while he looked about with her at their actual narrow prison, so grim with enlightenment, so ugly with industry, so turned away from any dream, so intolerable to any taste. He felt as if a window had opened into a great green woodland, a woodland that had a name, glorious, immortal, that was peopled with vivid figures, each of them renowned, and that gave out a murmur, deep as the sound of the sea, which was the rustle and forest shade of all the poetry, the beauty, the colour of life. It would be prodigious that of this transfigured world he should keep the key. No, he couldn't believe it, not even when Isabel, at sight of his face, came and helpfully kissed him. He shook his head with a strange smile. "We shan't get it. Why should we? It's perfect. If we don't, he'll simply have been cruel, which is impossible when he has waited all this time to be kind." Mrs. Gedge did believe. She would. Since the wide doors of the world of poetry had suddenly pushed back for them, it was in the form of poetic justice that they were first to know it. She had her faith in their patron. It was sudden, but it was now complete. He remembers, that's all, and that's our strength. "And what's his?" Gedge asked. "He may want to put us through, but that's a different thing from being able. What are our special advantages?" "Well, that we're just the thing." Her knowledge of the needs of the case was as yet, thanks to scant information, of the vaguest, and she had never, more than her husband, stood on the sacred spot. But she saw herself waving a nicely gloved hand over a collection of remarkable objects, and saying to a compact crowd of gaping, awestruck persons, "And now, please, this way." She even heard herself meeting with promptness and decision an occasional inquiry from a visitor in whom audacity had prevailed over awe. She had been once with a cousin, years before, to a great northern castle, and that was the way the housekeeper had taken them round. And it was not, moreover, either, that she thought of herself as a housekeeper. She was well above that, and the wave of her hand wouldn't fail to be such as to show it. This and much else she summed up as she answered her mate. "Our special advantages are that you're a gentleman." "Oh," said Gedge, as if he had never thought of it, and yet as if too it was scarce worth thinking of. "I see it all," she went on. "They've had the vulgar. They find they don't do. We're poor and we're modest, but any one can see what we are." Gedge wondered. "Do you mean?" "More modest."